Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dharamaya. Namo Sanghaya. Kande alaye gönye dorgane. Ragai josa bonde jonzenze. Shöye yabo gönye loye san. Seda jeba ne de je so so de ye no ga se de be de je je lo ma je be zo ga je ta lo de be so yo no je jo de bo je je ke yo jo so so xie je je ge ja be lo ke so no be je yo le je so cha be be je lo me ze be go to de de be de de lo cha ze ye wo je ye na zo me do do je je do be na ze je sha so wo sha ye je je de ya zo de so yo no je jo je yo no je yo ba je yo me de ne sa ba ye le ma ye ye me ga je ba je ba la do ba so ye me de nie ne je ba ta be so so ja nie me de ma de do la che ye Hello. Let us cultivate bodhicitta motivation, seeking complete enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings. With that kind of at least contrived bodhicitta motivation, we should participate in this Lamrim teaching on the stages of the path leading to complete enlightenment. I'm going to give you the blessing of oral transmission by reading page 2 from this Lamrim text, volume number 2 in the English translation.
提着本能我两把电的几人在大里里我接破接破我电我电三把电到三把不是把人的写书不。他那时把300过年没生些肉等地点的样容地点的样容样点的lâm中这把里。可月一中了，七瓦城把写了当迎接叫了些中的，俺写吧，大爷南京人吧，老江边上上研究员杨中上来写吧，那写的连别说个了送的，就会说个了送叫我着叫送着等叫送着写不写不人少等错啥吧等。三把掌握当不老松木你把你眼睛点上吧你确实想把当个学个说的经叫做说的叫做老叫就把当不你的把经济就应别说说的把经济就应别说瞧说啥些来不是些脏嘛的跑中也讲的当手把些老真的老是别去对吧兄弟讲手机这些不没都给什么多工作上接受你们龙马拉萨巴当不龙马拉萨巴当个不的拉萨巴当个小区先别个说那么你们这我们对不上我了修来这拉萨把我当个没到拉萨别学别我请你这上家吧这种木着等现在当个见拉萨大公下给微信小白白点这没到个钱吧我想么恐怕那么你我的印度给微年过着当中不就到嘛我的说吧当个小吧免得给我小吧免得给我是生里边送不到这这吧可咋不说也讲着了我有那要没把那点先不你不钱不在你抽不老没想吧在我想过的怎么想过的除了不到那么这个梦游当上面说什么也去把人别没接送给天电影别做个让你进去让你进去没得没里边样对吧眼睛是进了小松天那那没学别人把那些我在那旁边做见证学别真送这什么东西对吧这小我对吧小我的那个老妹吹是老妹吹些就老妹吹些和尚不个天么叫吧老么我做行个行那些样的老人他把你贴吧街的个叫老外上街的小区生把我第一的中队呢让你人都把这生特别人拉顿把我些顿叫我贴了俺们别么去路着我当些的小娃来拉你别去吧人拉顿把我当个想把当东面呢就把老把啥东西缺乏人怎么叫这样对不下吧去那边就个也没个我上去也是一个这个当在不了这个些毛那么一点出现不是现在东北说个啥子我当区别说个了说不些都是对了那边小外人把里人老丁个什么这边我就小娃要是不送别些这东西就这样的大家也能那路着个小来路了没叫我给那个你把那天那个那么了对不那么了对面的些小狗把它送别上去是没不起了下这个用到我们这不不么一边啷个啥了走那边等不着的小区身边这边都是说大部分晓得我这边第一不是这边都不走别上去作为上街那么当我小区是把新不小区新不小区不新不老啥了不修啥些不了不修把那么这边当不了那么样做不小区头接吧这边些 다음에 대지와 로면지와 다바 조비에 상주 되어 세메 세메께도서 헬린 소메제 저도 시대는 자루고 쳐바지 샤데 데더라 유에 상지 전에도 쉬에 대진 요고보 조시 베벨람 데버당 디디 남이 데버당 긴디 치면도 베샤죠 상스바발로 투 타야니 송디 뭐 상주小主毛的就跑到对些对小我是不是当街教育些人上街了教我东包怎么学了我教我的，印度了教人到这些年别别上班街当教我的对郎中里们都把些们到给别些什么的这到上班里对的人们都把小年，对把长不些了我觉得我这些把咱这也教不着小的老母工作说他们的些些。对的，说的是人也把谁也把这对关于那些就是也来就是，在这边的呢，就是叫我说他们的些对的些有些吧，现在就说些希望对这说了就是些，家当就当这就那了就是叫我说他们的些就对的是。其实在把这上学你没了去把这做那么些说爸爸上学是把这人们都被给弄了，就是小些连顺居多，这挺小个的。但刚才提啊，这个是而且多把上学是多把送下给你，他送当的，他这上学是上把的人些知道老讲呢，那多把考虑送过来，现在这多把送到小个的用功节什么些，我提的开始。다 될 때도 그래서 너무 숨 조여셔가 잠조시 소상 바시 삼바죠 디 섬디시 다 가지 소상 다 내려도 바시야 되겠지 다 되네 그래 될 숨으로 니 가서 내지 다들이 될야 이제 다 정주선 도방원데 내게는 이제 내가 시도시하다 이제 내가 리바 최제다 이제 가서 돼 이제 때 군조섬 때 샹바시 이제 최제 강조北京就初步老没用想过是我这是我那些呢，你开门那样，可是都得给人来人，可是陪你想去什么介绍叫了吧？我的那些开门那我可是有的想那的话了吧？有那看见些效果的，我在这两个人，但连上点的，你想去什么东点过的，这个是，那木是咱这边这个嘛的，我在这边了。
Happy New Year to all of you. So Geshe read from the bottom of page 62, volume number 2 in the English translation of Lamrim Chemo, to page 66 on the top. So what we have been discussing last time is taking Bodhisattva commitments or Bodhisattva vows, Changdong in Tibetan. And so before we participate in Bodhisattva commitment ceremony or the Bodhisattva vow ceremony, we are advised to train our mind in cultivating love, compassion, and those positive attitudes. Right? Once we have kind of a certain sort of feeling about these attitudes, if you will, then we could, and also we are willing to take the commitments, then we can participate in taking Bodhisattva vows. Now, conducting the Bodhisattva vow rite or the ritual, it has what we call it has jorwa or the preparation, or the actual rite or the ceremony, and the conclusion. Che is the conclusion. So it has those three parts, right? Preparation, actual rite of the ceremony, and the conclusion of the rite. So as you can see on page 63, those of you who have this English translation, so all those outlines are laid out clearly there in the middle of the page. So as like a part of first, what we need is preparing for the ritual. Oftentimes we talk about those 6 preliminary practices, which includes making the environment neat and clean, right? So the cleaning up the place for taking the vows. And so not only that, but we set up the altar, right? The representations of enlightened beings, bodhisattvas, and the teachings and all of that. And then also we'll present all kinds of offerings, right, befitting the rite of the ceremony. And so we must if we could afford, we should really do elaborate offerings, not just to kind of cut down on our expenses and kind of that thing. But at the end, if we don't have anything almost, like we have just a piece of cloth, and that's all we could offer to generate or to take the bodhisattva vows, that's fine too. As Geshe referred back to the Sutra of the Fortunate Ones, Gyeltsen, where it said that if you only have a piece of a cloth, and that's all you have, then you can, that be your offering to generate bodhicitta and take bodhisattva vows. But if we could afford to lay out, more offering extensive, so we should not go short on, spending money on that or setting up the offerings. And then also we talked about this before, like from whom should we take bodhisattva commitments, the vows? As we talked about this before, someone who has received the bodhisattva vows and who is abiding by the bodhisattva vows, right? It's not enough for the person to have generated aspiring bodhicitta, but one who has not taken bodhisattva commitments, that person is not a qualified person from whom we can receive the bodhisattva vows. That person should be one who has the vows to give us, right? So that's important thing to remember. So in terms of going for refuge in the three jewels, because that refuge practice can be explained in different Buddhist practice or contexts, because this is a Mahayana practice, right? We are taking bodhisattva commitments of the vows, so that objects of refuge have to be befitting that kind of if you will, the level of practice. So therefore, those who are in our objects of refuge are, of course, enlightened beings for sure, the Buddhas and realized bodhisattvas, but those who are, on the path of seeing and above, right? The path of seeing, darshan mark, we call Tonglam, and above. So, generally when we go for refuge in the three jewels, we kind of look at it from generic perspective. So therefore we visualize, right, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Sharvakas, Patika Buddhas, and then Dharma protectors, and all of the above, right? All of them are there. But now this is kind of exclusive practice, if you will, taking Bodhisattva commitments. So therefore everybody, doesn't belong there, so to speak, included. So when we think in terms of the Sangha here, the Sanghas are the ones who have achieved the path of seeing, darshan mark, Tonglam, and above. Okay.
karsa changse khadu tenda ngos dombalnya khadu yenla de shaza mazuna joe shogla go so tin ma heun zo ene yenla domba song shas
No, so.
wa chete so yenla de ga song guri tije be ene tije karsa gyusum ke ene changsim ke ge me na ene hiwase lo la ene yenla domba she go ene changsim ke ge ma re be sta bu go zung tan ba ka ro wa chi ba wa
No, so.
ko de so sa ti ko na ke len go ro wa
No, de.
so ta ti ta ta ngi je do go ro wa
No, so.
ko de so
Point of contention has been raised here, and some critics. So they kind of raised this point that in order to make bodhisattva commitments, we don't need to do the 7 branch practice or 7 limb practice, all of them, okay? Which according to Shantideva's lineage, right? It is said that we should do the 7 limb practice before we take bodhisattva commitments and vows, right? But they said, following Asanga's tradition, that's what the critic says. You don't have to do all the 7 limbs. You can just do few offering and prostrations, not all of them. Okay? And so their reason behind is they said, when you are generating bodhicitta and bodhisattva commitments, you want to take it with a very happy mind, right? Just with a sense of joy and delight. But if you do all the 7 limb practice, there's the limb of confession, where you are regretting for your negativities, you're confessing, so that's kind of not happy, right? That's their rationality. So, if you're regretting for the things, you're not happy, so that's not working. So you have to be happy to take bodhisattva commitments, so therefore, they said that you don't have to do the 7 limb practice. And then, to respond to that context, they said, no, it's not that, you got it wrong. You need to do all the 7 limb practice to purify your negativities, to accumulate merit, right, to make bodhisattva commitments or take bodhisattva vows. If you think that, regretting for the negativities that we have accumulated, it really mess up and, you can't take the bodhisattva vows, then how is it possible that according to Shantideva's way, right, you could take bodhisattva vows and where it is suggested that you do the 7 limb practice, right? But that's accepted by the critics. They said, yeah, according to the Shantideva, that's right, So it should work in this same way. No.
다 디니마 dombalenge 다 초가들 리셰 자스네 디 초가랭 샤디 샤네 다 디 샴데마 디도 다다 점주 시던데 남기네 로봉 고 식라 인 상예 저 디 셰 뭐도 공수 지시네 군조 성가점도 두고 와 디 군조 레레 공수 레레도 와 세다 디 켄자도 요르 생은 디 쇼데게 인 심지 쇼가는 요자로 와 어디는 희거베 있어 왔다디 디라 로봉 고 상예 저 로봉 고 쉐저시 레레거도 와 남기 로봉 고서 인 karta gaino sangyalo sho deja sho sho ba khatan gonsu ji tu ro di de gonsu re kha do o di do je yin sa
ale di shung ka wa se gor som begin
di shu je simji sho ga ju sa o ti na do lo ti na hi go sha yin so
no so
se ta di nam ji de mi ra so de je ru ji di se ye sho
ale no so as far as the actual rite or the ritual for conducting bodhisattva commitments or the vows of taking it, the general kind of a passage that we use to do that, at the beginning we call upon the attention of the precept of the master. We said, Loben Gongso so, oh master, please, hit me, right? Listen to me. And then we said Buddhas and Dharmas and all of that, right? We only do one sort of calling on the preceptor. But here, that, calling for attention is made with regard to each of the Guru, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. It's like, oh Guru, please listen to me, or Buddha, please listen to me, or Dharma, listen to me, please, right? Or Sangha, right? Every time you are calling for their attention. And Jeremy is explaining why, this is the case, is because I base this on the work of great Atisha, because in Atisha's work on generating bodhicitta, that's what he has, right? So you call upon each of the jewels or the refuge, objects of refuge, that please listen to me, right?
Oh, dear, that the jam was do at the Jewish, that the Labja, jamzu labse da ene jibu chung ka she sa sung do che dire ka je dire labse ka je menga sung da do sung do mi ni ne jo wa dire ka je da de do sung de ti sa yo ka je gbe labse sung de gbe la sung chou ni ji yo da menga she ba de la tel mangol ka su do me ka je ti yo ni sta ba de jo re da di she ji ro ka je sang ye jiao zhuo ene ông chủ所家们说，这一个那些的那边秋谷就地下个，印度就是这第一个拉下个回来那，那边他些光个被印度苏年上面抢的人啦，印度就问地下小伙儿是吧？这到可是没得话的，印度就来这没得那小弟们那不得吧？那没得不那了，那没得话，没得这可是身体是我的关系。 소소 대다 대스라 겐디구조 다단디 겐디구조 세대 간지 에네 게롱 겐디구조 쓰고다 파베 건사데 쓰고 바르와 시대 게롱 겐디구조 티게다 힐 게롱 힐 겐디구조 샤고르와 티샤다 셰다 무디베 니르시나 무디베 깨자 먹고 셰다 꼴로 주는 좀 소디 도베 에네 무디 니 도스 이티시오라 미기 파베 겐디디 무디베 로지라요 마라
So once we participate in the right to take refuge and bodhisattva vows, so then there are what we call refuge precepts, right? As you know, and so there are refuge precepts which are which we learn through Guru's kind of quintessential instruction, which Tibetan call Mengak, words of the mouth. And then there are precepts which are laid out in the Vinaya, right, moral course of ethics for the monastics usually. So all total put together, maybe there are 20 precepts, refuge, okay? So for example, what we often learn from the words of the Gurus pertain to what we said, what are the things that we should not do, right? We call precepts relating to abandonment, what we should not do. And what are the precepts that we should do or adopt? We call drubel labja, like complementary precepts and prohibitory precepts. Okay, now the words are coming back to my mind. So for example, if we go for refuge in an enlightened being, Buddha, Sangye, then a prohibitory precept is we should not go for refuge anybody lesser than enlightened beings, so including the powerful divine beings like Ishvar or the Indra or something, right? They're just marvelous, but they don't fit into the refuge here. Or that we take refuge in the Dharma, and then we learn to respect every syllable of the Dharma as if it really is Dharma, right? Every syllable of the Dharma is a Dharma. And then if going for refuge in the Sangha, for example, a prohibited precept is that we should not, hang out too much or even stay, many nights over, something like with, Tritikas or the non-Buddhist, practitioners. It's not like, hating them or anything, because if you hang out with them too much, maybe they are very smart too. So they will tell you so many things, and then there's a change of heart, like, oh yeah, boy, they're making sense now, right? So I don't know. So just kind of to prevent that kind of influence on one's faith. And so when it comes to Sangha, as you know, the real Sanghas are usually those who have internalized the path of seeing, Arya, right? Aryas, the transcendental beings, right? My first footnote, they don't have to be monks or nuns, right? Those who have the realization, that's what the Aryas are. But in an ordinary sense, when we say Sangha, we usually look at the monastics, right? The monks and nuns, right? They are the Sangha members. So usually, we kind of think of if there are a group of 4 fully ordained bhikshus or the monks, so that equal to kind of a one Sangha, one sort of transcendental beings, status, if you will. So going for refuge in Sangha, we should learn to respect, sanghas or the ordinary monks and nuns. And even if somebody maybe they're not keeping their vows properly, like that's their problem. My second footnote, right? None of our business. But because they're wearing robes, so we learn to respect, right? That is the monastic robe. At least we respect the robe. And if they're not keeping their vows, they deal with it, I think.
어때 다른 디 점줄라자고 디도 그저 보도 배주나 좀 말에 가서 말을 표자 니는 성사 좀 말해 어디서 말을 표자서 되지요 같이 군조 세워 표야 돼 얘는 그게 가서 로도 뭐서 타고 그거 그랬어 타고 뭐는 얘는 군조 얘기 말했어 근데 벌써는 말이야 칼라 땅선 말가고 말와 지그제래 다 니는 성사 돼 잡니듯이 좀 말했어 어디서 다 쇼바니 쇼는 조싱 말와 제다티 니는 수 말 표자 니는 성사 돼 빠지는데 어디들이
So great Kadamba Geshe Podava has this to say, as Geshe quoted the actual words of the Podava, which are little archaic Tibetan words. So the explanation given is he says that when it comes to making offerings to the three jewels, our offerings should be what are called pure offerings. Pure in the sense these offerings have not been obtained through 8 worldly concerns, isn't it? So if anything we have procured through 8 worldly concerns, right, or even present the offering out of 8 worldly concerns, then it really contaminates the offering. So that kind of impure offerings really do not delight Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, right? They really like something, if it could be simple, but pure out of your heart, and it's not marred by worldly attitudes and concerns. So that's why usually we talk about how the offerings we make should not have come through any of the 5 wrong means of livelihood, right? That kind of thing, offering. And then another thing Podava said is that when it comes to taking refuge, we really have to go for refuge. We cannot be sort of a double-faced refuge practitioners, like I have refuge in you and I also, not that. It's just you go for refuge in Buddha, that's it, right? But you don't take refuge in, worldly deities. The example given is like Podava said, you cannot ride 2 horses at the same time, right? You just ride on one horse. You choose this one or that one, but you're not going to ride 2 horses, right? So in terms of that, the refuge practice has to be just kind of dedicated to, one object of refuge, right?
어디 다디 랍자 디리 더 랍자 강가도 페이지 되고 다 가지 디리 지세 니는 선생님은 점으로 저 리벨라자 들어와 이 지세 페이지 쉬어 봐. 다 가지 디리 고 다 얘도 있는 배는 슬램버스 봐 가지 자외 그게 도로 소리 주는 배 얘도 그저 뒤에 해야죠. 이 선지 군년 간제지나 배 그 정을리로 상호산마다 산진군이 뒤에 자고요. 저거. 근데 다 쉬어이는 다 근데 이게 다 보여계셔는 이게 나지인지 쉬어고저 뒤샤고 쓰고 봐. 기타 뒤서도 지디 sak바다 이게 지디 날레다가 뒤라가 보러. 지금 군에서도 다고 쓰기도 봐. 다 이게 근데 보일 가이양 보일 좀 뭐도 이게 계달에 그거를 쓰기도 뒤지 봐라 봐. 보이는 다 이게 계단 찍어 찍어 이제도 나 찍어 봐라. 그래. 그래서 롭도는 간제 제다 근데 추어거든 다 건진 감이 먹고 다 삽삽 쉬고 다 사바 강가데 피지다 시도서 말아. 그래. 신가무 라마 저 창린라 무용 저보다 또 가래 이나 강가베 뒤에 샤고 송도 와. 송샤.
So as a part of our refuge precepts, as many of you know, that because we tend to eat 3 meals a day, so before we eat anything, we offer the first part of our food and drink to, right, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. That's called Pu, Tibetan, right? The first part offered is called Pu. Or that if we see any image or the representation of a Buddha, whether it is a really nice craftsman's work or kind of a lousy one, doesn't matter if it looks like a Buddha or supposed to be Buddha, then we learn to respect that as a Buddha, right? As if it's a real Buddha, and we respect that. Because of going for refuge in the Sangha, monastics, even if we find a piece of yellow or red, color, that's part of their robes, we learned to respect that as sanghas, clothing, and put it on a clean place, things like that. So those are all part of our refuge precepts. And also, as I said earlier, going for refuge in Dharma, we learn to respect even one syllable. In the Tibetan expression, syllable na, right? If it's only na there, that has to do with the Dharma. We learn to respect it as a Dharma. Yeah? And so relating to that, what Geshe kind of thinks about is, today it seems like very difficult because we live in a kind of a social media world, and that Dharma things are published in the newspapers and online everywhere else, right? So newspaper, anything, like people like, well, it's a newspaper, right? So kind of really difficult in many ways, right? How to do that kind of practice. But as much as we can, we should learn, because he said Tibetan's expression is respect even one syllable na, but he thinks that logic should apply to any language, doesn't matter, right? Dharma is taught in any language, so one syllable of whatever that language that Dharma is taught should be respected as a Dharma. Yeah, so that's part of so which means usually, when we have Dharma books and texts like that, we don't kind of walk over them or use them as a cushion to sit upon or things like that, right? Because those are all against our refuge precepts.
이게 나지 이제 송어로 그래서 다다 이게 나 다들이야 세계도 되게 삼자다 이게 그거 찍어내서 다 lum버스 있는 찍어두고 하고 더다 쉬어도 동서는 간지 찍어두고서 되게 찍어내서 제가 두시인데 다양 랑랭따도 하고 싶은데 다 디레 양지당 계좌도 되게 상과선 캐면서 이게 삼자시다 배제는 요 말아.
So Geshe want to be very careful what he is sharing as his personal opinion and what is in the Dharma, right? In the Dharma, we usually say, having gone for refuge in Dharma, even respect one syllable na. That's the Tibetan expression of the Dharma as if it's Dharma. Then, extending that idea, he thought, his personal opinion, he said, that's my personal opinion, I have to make it clear, so it's not said in the Dharma text, that in any language, if Dharma is taught, so one syllable or a word of that language, right, talking Dharma probably should be respected equally as a syllable na, right, as a Dharma. And of course, then he thinks that these days, because Dharma things are published in the magazines and newspapers and all of those things, so maybe, every word in that should be counted as a Dharma as well, right? That's all his personal opinion, but that's not said in some way in any Dharma text.
다 소사버서야 다 심쇼갈 심지쇼갈 심지린도잖아 샤치바시고 이는 소사도잖아 샤치바시고 그래서 샤치바데 다 뒤좀 베스 상예 현실과 탐지 다 소소비게 자자라면 저비 인투좀 상예 탐지 쇼고 그래서 취해야 되다 연하데 뭐 성주를 나이 신의 그래서
And so when it comes to making offering and prostrations like that, we do it at many different contexts, right? When we're going for refuge, right, we do the 7-limb practice of prostrations and offerings, right? When we're generating bodhicitta, again, we do prostrations and make offerings. So it comes everywhere in all kinds of practices we do. So with regard to the Yenla Tumba, 7-branch practice or 7-limb practice, in Tibetan, Yenla Tumba, there are many different versions. The one which is often recommended is the 7-branch practice that is found in the Samandabhadra prayer, right? Sangje in Tibetan, right? Sangje Melam. So there is a whole kind of a prayer section which deals with 7-limb or 7-branch practice. So he said, do that.
그래서 람론 심무단 심지를 대니 제가 송바 다른 거 샴바디 간지 심장세에 다 샴바디 인제 고는 我讲下的是我다 간지 정지 심장세에是吧就是기단 거现在生意他不晓得相信심장不过去嘛是吧간지相信심结果기대 뭐 없어 다相信심 많이 다 무슨 그거是吧그거 레는 얘야 이 거에 동에 지시라 간가 상 인디르지 소송인 중에 되는 힘을 받고 있는 결과지 뭐지 당분간 심지어는 상에도 저서는 끼고 말아 어디서 왔다
So same Chang, mind training, is in this context, mind training to generate bodhicitta, Chanju Sem, right? What does it mean? Is that we really cultivate love and compassion, right? Through these mental processes, we generate bodhicitta, right? Generating bodhicitta doesn't simply mean that, oh, how nice if I become a Buddha for the sake of sensing, may I be the, just simply thinking that's not enough to generate bodhicitta. But what it involves is, as we have often talked about this, first we reflect on our personal problems and suffering in samsara, right? And as we think about these things, then we really started to get fed up with samsara, right? Develop aversion to samsara, and that sense of aversion is called ngejung, renunciation, right? Then you realize that samsara is not a happy place to be, right? There is a better option. So exit option is better than staying in option. And then we look at others who are in the same problematic situations. Then we say, you know what, if I don't like suffering this much, I don't think anybody would like it. So therefore, as much as I want to be free from suffering, I wish all others to be free from suffering. So when we focus on the suffering of others and wish them to be free from suffering, that's called compassion, isn't it? Yeah. And so as much as we want all the goodness, right, and we see that everybody else wants all the goodness. So when we wish everybody to be happy and best of everything, that's called love. So by cultivating all these different attitudes, love, compassion, thinking in many critical thinking and reasons, then slowly we are able to generate bodhicitta, right? Now we see that, you know what, well, the best option is if I can become Buddha, then I will be able to fulfill all the wishes, right, for sentient beings. So this is how, it's a process through which we go through thinking and, insight to generate bodhicitta. So generating bodhicitta or mind training doesn't mean simply like, oh, I want to be Buddha for the sake of sentient beings. I want to be Buddha. That's not good enough, right? It is a whole process that's involved here.
다 당기도 조회 속에서 당기 잡으러 들이다 무기디 다 막이 도발은 거 대한테 휴무고 거서 휴고하면 돼. 이나 심기링게 드시고를 스가서 에네 디 무슨 속에는 세야 되시네. 그런 심지어도 사이고 뭐 타고 샤워서 들에 담자 좀 시발라 시발이네 에네 대시고를 스가서 무슨 랍자 럽는 날 속으래스. 다 저주님 법도 못어서 죽듬을 내서나 에네 될 송문이나 엘렌조 말이스. 됐습니다.
As you know that there are two types of bodhicitta, aspiring bodhicitta, Mönsem in Tibetan, and engaging bodhicitta or Gyeltsen. So aspiring bodhicitta, there's also a rite or a ritual to do that, and almost anybody can participate in it so long as somebody aspires to be Buddha for the sake of sentient beings. And you may not be able to make a commitment, right? You say, I want to take, but even if you dare not to make commitments, but still you want to that feeling that I want to be Buddha for the sake of sentient beings, then you can participate in the aspiring bodhicitta rite. Yeah. But for the engaging bodhicitta mind, it's not enough to be like, I like to be Buddha or that. But once should be make up your mind that I want to be able to make the commitments and keep the commitments, right? So with that kind of a mindset, then one can participate in the engaging bodhicitta rite, the jugdom or the bodhisattva vows-based bodhicitta.
어디 다 그래서 무슨 애네 납자 럽는 만는 어디 송조셔가 송조리스. 다 요즘라 애네 납자 럽는 애네 송통 말이스. 다 들어야 애네 단데 샤왈레 로다 애네 파바 가서 통밀로 캐요 뭐 직발이 강가 캐번지야디 그 말이지 캐바치고서야.
Also.
얘들 가서 롱기 심조를 베벨라자 예밀라월 남자지 메롱 루트도 통메나 지바 라 도베 쇼가 몽보로 총어 샤모로 캐번데 받니 근데 고아 먹고 쳔보스 데리 루루 통메다 델 근데 송민이나 야 디데 쇼겔린 쇼가 캐버 예스 라야디 이 먹어 레스 직바지 정도 먹겠네 쇼겔린 캐버 요 말이스 혼자.
No, so we are at the bottom of page 64 over to 65, where it seems like some earlier Tibetan scholars kind of made a distinction. There's things that according to maybe Nagarjuna and Shantideva like that, even if you are not ready to make the commitments, but still you could participate in engaging bodhicitta rite and take the commitments, right? But according to some other masters, it's not. They said no. It doesn't matter whether you are following Shantideva, Nagarjuna, or Asanga, right? Whichever traditions, in order to take the bodhisattva vows, you should make up your mind, right, to be able to take the commitments. If you're not ready, then you cannot participate in the, the jugdom, engaging bodhicitta rite.
어디 있어 그래서 도움을 심어 줘야 노사 더 들어도 그래서 제 심어 줘야 노 세계라 담발레장 제발서 라자라 라바 민이는 전주 셈점 제발라 손만 뭐 줘봐 송비 공수 제니 강포를 지만 나나 나바탄지 덤진 로민이 티저 전 주비시에 탐지 용수 멤버 차위 셈게바 샤디 해 고는 당불 송비 지조 랍잘 밀로발 엔 셈지 차롱 도바 송도 메로 최소인다 당대 디노메데 샤 가지 도바 송비게 랍잘 로미네나 애니 초게 송는 거 말이지 어디 기타 고는 당불 양제지 여사라 당기 용말 당기지 개발하다 도미 개발되지세서 다 가지에서는 양데 어디 세 가지 간다게 말다 무슨 송아 가서 적중 송아라 domballo minna chande en jugdum len shoku mare sibal
so the komrim na la sonto sombe gen
gumre na
so basically I shall read more passages that substantiate the point, a reference to Kamal Shila's stages of meditation, where it's also asserted that in order for anybody to participate in the engaging bodhicitta rite of the ritual, he or she must be committed to take the bodhisattva vows, otherwise he or she is not qualified to participate in the rite. So there's no such thing as some kind of excuse, leeway kind of there isn't one here.
마주는 데려다 가서 뒤초가지 줘버셔 다 점주 쇼가다 디니라 너무 이주는데 그미그지 세가 마중요 그바 이노스 데브라 다 너무 이주 너무 연늘다 너무 이주되고 너무 송돼서 이거라 다 이거 디레지다 지노스 다 너무 이벨로기 다 너무 연나 독세 너무 맨나다 쇼간다 상하다 소다 dom바스도 로모면은 내야면다 저리서 dom바도 로모면 소땡이 둘래는 디고로와 어디 다다디 해야돼 로모 예방 지그레스 다 로모면은 인 최바도 샤면 지바셰 인 내야도 소소마 초간도 소들랭지를 뭐 이게 제도시야다 요 말아 이 초가 해다 지바레스다 제도시고 뭐 그지로와
so in terms of taking bodhisattva vows you could take it from Loben, master or teacher or preceptor, or you can take them on your own in the presence of visualized Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, right? And the way it is presented here is as if you're taking it from a teacher or a master, right? In which case the rite ritual begins like Loben Gongsos, oh master, please listen to me, right? Because there is a master you're calling upon. But if you don't have a master, just doing it on your own, then you don't need that expression, right? Oh, master, there isn't one. And of course, if you have a master, you repeat after the master 3 times. But if you're doing it on your own, so you're not repeating after anybody here, right? So that's kind of a difference there. And as Geshe said, that in terms of individual emancipation vows, Patimoksha, Moksha vows, or the monastic vows, right, to be simple. There's other set, it's more than monastics, but and tantric vows, we have to take them from a master or a teacher, right? You cannot take on your own, right? The tantric vows and monastic vows, right? You have to take from someone. But in terms of bodhisattva vows, there's that option. Yeah, maybe now I don't know whatever my foot number is. Like maybe usually we say the first time you're taking it, take from a master. Then after that you can take on your own, right? The bodhisattva vows. Anyway, that's my footnote.
Oh, that low maybe looks here, did it, because so you go low and singing them and never yet. Any part rings in the Royal Langal party to put in the Yuna, and what is so late in the grace of that. He alone in the Yawa, so 2 years sooner. 어떤 뭐 뇌바 그 말 봐.
Right.
어떤 연노로 원래 다 계지 뒤에 맞잖아. 소리를 줘.
No, son. So when we say that, when say in the Bodhisattva literature, actually, it says that Bodhisattva vows could be taken on your own, right? Or from a master. So on your own, meaning that, say, if wherever you are living in your locality, there isn't any like a qualified master from whom you can take the Bodhisattva vows, then you can take it, right, on your own. Or that maybe you have your teacher, but your teacher lives very far off, right? To be able to travel there, there's so many obstacles on your way, you can't get there or something. Then it's okay, right? But if your teacher you have access to your teacher or in the locality, you could kind of easily visit. It's better to take from your teacher, right? The Bodhisattva vows, than just do it on your own.
다디죠 디리 랍자 다 무슨 쇼가서 랍자다 죽숨 쇼가서 랍자니래다 다 무슨 쇼가서 랍자 될 거지 나고 시기 보면 가고 시기 줘봐야 되와 그가 디리 가서 죽죠는 너무 이번은 랍자 줘 샤워 이번 토바 매년 봤송아 저 이번이 심기 매년배 줄 랍다 저 디리 세될 매년배 줄 랍다 겨와신 매년배 줄 랍다 니시 어따리 당보티 송이나 저봐 세델 심지 메네 줄라바다 겨와시는 메네 줄라바 니시
But the museum delicious.
무슨이다
No, so. So as we said, that often we talk in terms of two types of bodhicitta: aspiring bodhicitta, Munsem, and engaging bodhicitta, Gyeltsen. So in terms of aspiring bodhicitta also, there are certain precepts, that are suggested, recommended. And for example, there are 4 things that one should not do to be able to keep the aspiring bodhicitta in your mind in this life. And then the 4 things that you should do to be able to continue that bodhicitta in your future lives, right? So what needs to be done here to preserve the bodhicitta, and what needs to be done to be able to keep it over many other lifetimes.
어때 다 딜도 와서 심지 표현사 맞지시 얘네 심지 니저 가서 심지连족 깨고 다시 영어 심지 무슨 삼로던连족 깨봐시 근데 심지로 메동시 얘네 되네 대세도 가서 심지로 메동시 손은데 이 소사 봐 어디 해래도 세딜 So
what are the 4 things suggested that one should do to be able to keep aspiring bodhicitta in one's heart and mind in this life? Number 1, we should often reflect on the benefits of generating and keeping aspiring bodhicitta, Penyun, Tibetan. Number 2, that we should generate the aspiring bodhicitta, we say 6 times, right, a day and night, right, the 6 times in 24-hour time period. That's what it's saying. And number 3, that we should commit never to forsake sentient beings, right, give up on sentient beings. And number 4, that we practice accumulation and purification, accumulation of merit, wisdom, and purifying negativity. So those are considered as 4 things or practices we do to keep aspiring bodhicitta in this life.
어디에다 표현사한테 가르쳐서 거기 셔주심에 내놓으로 니 셔주심 표현 간지 셔주심 뒤에 가서 너다 되네 투숨 마시나 표현 전거 말아 봐. 그래서 셔주심에 표현들이 어디에 신 그래서 송당 표현도 더 치고 그랬어요. 다 그래서 지금도 보지 내가 매바시 제다 저기 들으셔다 요주소나 들어도 거기 셔주심에 가서 행담바키에 내가 매배 손놈 용준전 바요 당번은 제들라미 집에 샤저 해서 못다서 가지 들어와 저주심이 전에 계지 지라마도 지게서 해야 들어와 세다 배용도 다 가지 요주를 해야할 배용 뭐도 어디 수도 컨텐츠 상하래 다 건지 거 얘기지 상 다 도드는 데다 현실이 전에 배용 rob지 하고 비교 요 말와
So as we said that reflecting on the benefits of aspiring bodhicitta is one of the practices or the causes to keep aspiring bodhicitta in this life. And so which means we need to educate ourselves about the benefits of generating aspiring bodhicitta. So we read bodhisattva literatures, right? We read sutras, about bodhisattvas. So through those materials or the sources that we learn about the benefits of keeping bodhicitta. Also like the text like Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva's Way of Life, where it said that the moment you generate a mind of enlightenment, you become the object of veneration by both divine beings and the human beings, all of that, right? So the bodhicitta really is so precious that the moment you generate it, you become an object of reverence, by all other beings. So like that, so we think about the benefits of aspiring bodhicitta.
거저 더 되는 간데 다 매도 매매 네바 메조바다 에도 소데라 사바데 딕바 창바다 다 거지 셔주세 배우는 직바데 겨우들 건지 딕바이나 셔주세 장소 오르와 오다 바지 민조 어디 셔주세 바지 민조 시도 오르와 됐으면데 가르사 니스르바데 지레스 엔데 데바시니 딕바 쳔부지 딕바라냐 디사르와 딕바 약 주세라도 약 주지요네 엔데만데 시라시데 엔 장주스음 공부레스 엔 장주스음 공부네 강도 슝슝으로세 예레스도 오다 배우 스테이드데 가듬 디네 가듬 지디난도디
So in every possible way, we think about the benefits of generating bodhicitta, aspiring bodhicitta in this particular case, how if you have a real bodhicitta, then, you are protected from all kinds of harms and obstacles, right? And bodhicitta really helps you to purify a lot of your negativities. It's very powerful, practice at that sense. With bodhicitta, your accumulation of the positive energy is going to be exponentially higher than not having a bodhicitta. So all of these things are, help us to appreciate bodhicitta more and think about its benefits. And as Geshe recalls that maybe it is Kandapa Geshe Nisupa who said that once he saw this kind of a dreadful scorpion, right? We call it Diparaja, right? Almost sounds like a negative one, right? And then he just kind of reflected on the bodhicitta. He said because of the power of bodhicitta, somehow that scorpion, kind of becomes smaller and smaller, and it kind of disappears, right? So it couldn't harm him at all. So Geshe read that in the collected works of the Kandapa master's words called Kadam Chidu in Tibetan. Yeah.
어디요? 그래서 베이징 시발에 저주심 유선문 강사 텔레키도 속에도 남게 칸이 그간데 테네 테라고 주스 거기다 거기에 준기 거기에 심해 장이기 사지 현은 강기 현은 메강기 렌제다 그간데 지된 건을 표하기 강기 테모자지데 저주심니 선주 되는 심티는 최반되니 이 케버파 텔레 텔라 타네 뭐죠 예수사 다 롱다 도든 데레도와 텔시가 그래서 거기 지디스 감단지 비 쳐와 강네 이러와 사예 탐질레 푸알레 에네 저주심 리오피게 때모르시 삼노단 딥손 샤리스타 도든 데레도와
So the passage Geshe read what basically tells us that even if we fill the whole entire universe with a variety of offerings to enlightened beings, of course that will help us accumulate tremendous positive energy or the merit, punya, sonam. But compared with that, if we generate bodhicitta even for a moment, the merit we gain from this is much greater than merit of offering the whole universe to Buddha.
어디부터 다들 덤규르게 쇼제 에네 자가도에 대해서 저주 요도 상지야 타기로 가르사고이나 서 공원대에 간 에네 군다서 제제 강으로 나시 요도 상지야는 저주선 제고서 됐어요스
And so then they have captured kind of an anecdotal story about the great Indian master Atisha, who was circumambulating Mahabodhi temple in Bodh Gaya, right? And he was thinking about, what must I do to be able to achieve enlightenment, for all sentient beings? Then as he was thinking about those things, then the statues, right, along the walls of the Mahabodhi temple, they started to chat with each other. Like they said, wow, you should have a bodhicitta, to be a Buddha, right? So he heard that, right? So as if they were talking for him. So they engaged in the statues started to talk, right? Speak like, oh, you need bodhicitta to become a Buddha,
我记得当然进度的可是很多了，像求学，很多了，现在到多些顶学的也是是吧？
No, so.
我第二年普遍给么这个，天天的牛子上学开始就是，然后第二年打上牛子上也是全是生教我，我第一收下来了是。
Primeiro que
普遍项目就是牛子上学那
primeiro我那时候的，kunde时候的。
普遍我那时候的，
Alô,
对，普遍我那时候的。
No, so.
普遍我那这个普遍这个天，牛子上学普遍之外的，第二个么了，第我那时候是呀，其实到第二到啥都送下那些，牛子上学全是生教送下手。
And then as he was circumambulating, right, not only he heard the statues, engage in dialogue and talking about, right, as if answering his question, right, oh, you need bodhicitta to be Buddha. Then he saw, older and younger, women together, and the young seems to be asking older, right, what should one do to become a Buddha, right? And then the older lady started to answer like, well, you need a bodhicitta, right? So it was like confirmation, right? All this, conversations going around him,
我这可现在我这送的，人学习，人强修生了，别个，嘛也他们都生了，别图书就签的收的，但森林的票个点没着吧？那么森林咋票着吧？我的，但贵啊，这个你这些呢，但这个他强修生，他妈用说的森林不要是，个个差些不要着吧？一定大就送的票的话，我的票个，但你这些，因为同一些我生意着吧？
And so it is said that because of that event happened, as he was circumambulating Mahabodhi temple in Bodh Gaya, he heard the statues talking with each other. He heard these two ladies talking among themselves, but everybody is kind of, saying the same thing, right? Answering his question that bodhicitta is a must to become a Buddha. Then he's really wished to generate bodhicitta, become very strong and firm. So he thought, okay, now where can I find that instruction, how to do that? And that's why that motivated him to sail to the Golden Island, right? I don't know which foot number is this. I think this is Bali, Indonesia, somewhere. Now I was told. Went in search of the master from the Golden Island. It was called. I think another name is called Dharmakirti, not the logician, but he has the same name. Okay. And so he's went over like a month sailing on the ocean to that place to meet the Dharmakirti and receive instruction on generating bodhicitta.
哦，对，他就是送下的嘞，多开始，给把他们如果我把同样的一定偏不是写的，上街他们这个，那边上街他们就看了一下，街吧现在上街街吧现在叫么了吧？不，我从前些看了吧？是打把他从街吧这个街位呢，因听了呀，偏下前去的小学生的话，来送下手是吧？给把同样一定偏不，可是。 给把对了，我们同样的你偏不识，写的我得的，他们一上手不得的，就是甚至的也是我的。
And then again, in Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva's Way of Life, Chunju, it is stated, as Geshe quoted the stanza from his memory, and the stanza goes something like that, having contemplated for eons, the Buddhas have all come to an agreement that this is the only one that's most beneficial. This is the only one referring to bodhicitta. Of course, we know that Buddhas really don't have to engage in dialogue or think critically, right? Because Buddhas see everything clearly. But hypothetically speaking, if we have a conference put together and invite all the Buddhas and say, okay, just decide what is the most beneficial thing for sentient being, then they will all unanimously, make a declaration that bodhicitta is the most beneficial thing. Okay.
我在培养上面的结果来的话，那这没什么结果，没懂的，别个老婆，他的一般的可是，这一零从三零从没什么结果的嘛嘞，啊了，对着吧？我听不是的，这那上学上你那忘记的，这个心情给心情嘛这样这话的嘛这样的这些呢，心情成嘛也。 现在把那给把他们人关闭，这推人我说，他感觉小可能像那说的给那么的，写的就把里给我消息，我就是他可是天天是心情不给乱就当不呢， ene kida kasa nyeba shebo shawo se kar dibali kete kewa shewa kangil lamji ju jo rangje jaje ni la de jena tide tsudim jonji tsudim nyamba yi simji dene pewon bai hindu jis oda simji nyamba yi na ene soda yi pambal jia yo so da changju se be doban kasa simji nyamsa na ene soda doban tsadung le chia yo so
And so in those many ways, we should reflect on the benefits of generating bodhicitta and also try to cultivate or refresh our mind with bodhicitta 6 times in 24-hour period, right? That's another thing. And then, of course, we should never forsake sentient beings. I mean, that is the heart of the matter, right? We can't give up on any sentient beings, otherwise we lose bodhicitta. So giving up any sentient being is so detrimental from spirituality point of view for a bodhisattva or for aspirant bodhisattvas, and that's much more serious than breaking the root vows of the monks and nuns, right? If the monks and nuns break any of the 4 root vows, then they are done for this life, right? But more serious than that, once as a practitioner of bodhicitta, if you give up on sentient beings, that's just even more serious matter.
No dear, that karsa. This is the karsa better thing, but usually go people jungsi le yi yema she some she ne megakan mishi shiba teo yida sona lana mebe dewala sabata be donye ne doata julu chena and dendro jigo donjorums tere da jidone in mijili jira sagitu yi tamote usla in the madena yida jig loud was
No, sir.
that the simji time jig dewa go to shangsu simji la in the batang jana in the that ale nyeva khazu se jirum gore so
So in the Bodhisattva's way of life, it is stated that if you sort of make a commitment to provide food for like a few people, right, who are hungry, right, and then if you kind of break that promise, that's going to be unbecoming, isn't it? And that's kind of shame on you and what other people are going to say, like, why did you make the promise if you can't keep it, right? But now, compared to that, as we generate bodhicitta, we are making commitment to the whole sentient beings, isn't it? I want to do what I can to bring you the greatest happiness. So having made that commitment, if we default on our promise, right, then that's going to be much more serious, breaking the promise.
Oh, did that karsa tishi that did so some that shows the manium time do marry in Italy, computer said that yin some sense so that is some you are or the shows the Jew said it. That wasn't said the love just you that you that somebody did it or that so say did it.
No.
What did it?
And then, of course, in order to kind of help us generate the bodhicitta faster, as I said before, we try to generate it 6 times in 24-hour period time, and then also we try to accumulate, do the purification and accumulation practice. That is to facilitate the development of bodhicitta.
Oh, did it? So some young the learn to somewhere chow was chocolate on you did with the shame of that. Object of the young Lomdun, Jabal, just so much I made the shall you say you gave a show 2 minutes, but so much she soon be, but there lot. So go, but I am go never Joe was. The little don't boom be, simply lumber as you are.
No.
What did it? Made up a show so, but yeah, can't you let in did 2 di tong bi khaji thire simje lo bon sa de simje thamje lo pong go ma re ka simje je so na ro mo ta simje di thong ge mi shi sin chin ane simje lo pong go
Right. Semjin Luetang means forsaking, sentient being. What does it really mean? It is not like we have to give up on all sentient beings or many of them. It's a large number. It's not that. But if we kind of give up in our mind, like, I like all sentient beings, just you. I mean, you are the only one, right? I don't care. Well, that's it. That's called forsaking sentient beings. Your bodhicitta, right, doesn't work because bodhicitta encompasses all sentient beings. There's nobody to be excluded, right? If in our mind, whatever situation we encounter, like, yeah, I love all sentient beings, just you, the troublemaker, I don't like you, you're out. No, That's called forsaking sentient being.
뭐 다 비걸 심지어 다 소사바들 소사바들 당긴 다 그지 직발에 다 이버 데려도가 제가 현도 메제 봐 이 심지 소한테 다 나부시 뭐하세요 들어와 이거 데려가 이버 제가 근데 라발니 냠바르 시바 나부시 시바당 시기빵왔당 매년마 까부시 라바 다모니 군조 파디 버드고 저 쉬이데 와서 텔라 나고 쉬이길래 켐보도 너무 들다 켐보도 너무 뒤지 우거와 찍으려와 뒤지 우거와 찍시 얘네 뒤지 우거와 시 전에 그래다 켐보도 너무 진다 게 셰바샤디 유니 켐보 지시 시 우승 저월에 셰도 가지 다시 얘네 유라 찌찌자시 나부시 저 냠나 유트다라 가룽라 메힌디 류는 나부시요세 루루니 유트다 건지 캠보다 로봉은 뒤지 오고 와시 제이셰 다 라만남 지지 오고 와 제시 랍디소 쉐는 봉아 숨비 숨라 니 냠보 까부시 저버셔 대양 라마라 최신슈 그거도 최신이 네 신이 세디온 세디 로마닌 잡지 유송시 제바표 저 다시 디레 그뭐 로마 오고 직시 이네 심지 개와싱이들 제바께시 봐 직시로와 다 되네 이네 그래서 저주 디레 그래서 심지 탐지라 데레 다 저주 선발 쳐봤지 저주 선발을 쳐봤지 어찌그래 그러다 나부시키는 거와 어디시 다 어디래 다 디시 쳐봤지 근데 제바 쳐봤지 다 쇼가심지시 제바 디 도티게 제바 쳐봐 까지 걸 심지봐 그래서 캠보스 놓고 와서 이네 심진을 줘봤게도 주고 와서 저주 선발을 쳐봐서 이네 해다고라는 줘봐서 매년 다 tel을 주버 저주 선발을 매년 줘봐 저기서리 다 코르스에 줘라와 어다 뒤년 모델다 지고 왔다 가지 캠보다 로봉도서 상인디에 샤 지단의 신나 데르와 가서 뒤조고와 이니 저주 선발도다 이니 상제백에 가서 강한저 강사서 가서 용들 지난 좀 이니 심지 수이나 이니 비 상제나 하고 머리선 가스지코니 비게 이니 심지 저주 선발 쳐야 돼 가고 그래서 저와 어디까 되니까 자 쳐야지 되니 이거서 저주 선발을 증예매와 잠재자서 증예매오면 어디 디시상성에
시대상승에
대상상 디고 다디버 해봐 뭐도 가가 시도 쉬고 거도 가지고 또
So we're on page 76. Now we're talking about what are the things that are recommended for us to do here and now so that we will be able to prevent degeneration of bodhicitta in our next lives and also to be able to further bodhicitta in our next life. So first we talk about what usually we call nakvyu-chöshi. Literally means, well, maybe literally shouldn't translate it, then start to get weird. So nakvyu-chöshi, I call it, what are the four negative practices that we should not do? In this translation, they said, what are the four dark practices? Okay, so four dark practices. And so the number one is if we deceive, our gurus and the Kempo are the abbots. Now, another footnote probably be you and I don't have it. For the monks, and they have abbot, right? In the ordination abbot, I think. So if we cheat and deceive our gurus and teachers and abbots, so that is a negative practice. So that will, contribute to the decline of bodhicitta. Yeah, so one. Number two, if we somehow make others regret for any positive things they have done, right, virtuous practices, right, we're like, yeah, why are you doing that? And then they regret it, so that will, how should I say, cause decline in bodhicitta. The another one is if we get mad with bodhisattvas, right? We don't know the bodhisattvas, we happen to get mad with them, angry, that can cause decline in bodhicitta. And another one I think is if we say unkind things towards bodhisattvas, right? We kind of smear them, with all kinds of bad reputations, things like that. That's also cause decline in bodhicitta. So to prevent these things happening, for example, now often our gurus tell us that we should learn to kind of accept and respect our teachers as if they are real Buddhas, right? If we can sort of have that kind of perception of our teachers, then we are not going to cheat them and deceive them, right? That will, okay. Not to get mad with bodhisattvas, because we don't know who is who, right? Buddha said somewhere, as Geshe quoted the words from his memory, somebody like me who is fully realized would know who is who. Others will not be able to judge each other. If you judge each other, you might, you might doom, yourself. So that's why we don't know who is bodhisattva, who is realized being or not. So the best thing is if we respect everybody else, right, with a pure perception, as if you are a bodhisattva, maybe you are somebody, somebody means realized, not somebody worldly sense, right? Who cares that? My footnote, he didn't say that. So that will prevent getting mad with bodhisattvas.
디게 제도 저주스말이야 유치는 건설이야 지야의 건설이야 아니 중야 닉바치가 시부레스 그러다 그 저주스바 가지고 하고 말마 저 되게 제도 나를 해서 나달 해봐 인스타 해 저주스바 전에 가래서 되고 시만이 예바심 예와네고 봤다 되게 다 저주스바 전에 근데 최외 계지기 전에 예완도고 즉시 그래서 저주스바 꼬아다 뭐 해는 그 저주스바 동안 rabdi xiwa nam yebe shuru do song oti kiwa nyewa teka chuang zhibu zuwa shi na bena da tawla zhibu tonglong toya zhibu xiaoyu xiwa jiga chue so na adi tizi po di tonglong to zuwa ma diga le diga ma zo po di to nyang zhigu rwa o di diga nyang zhigu ya xie o di da tila ya xiaoyu ki kar dire xiaoyu ki senpa da kanchi lang tomen zhibu ya na 다 레터 뭐 저한테 저주 심바야 사토 가서 졸음도 토 트는 개바 동게 다 지기도 와. 다 토 샤마 트는 개바 자지기도 와. 근데 내 배전에 가지 저주를 개바 동세야 저. 나 나도 엄마 주가 가서 말 개바 자 말해. 어디 때 토동세야 샤고. 가지 저주 심다 배우 희보라. 저주 심바 트는 이메 희보가로. 어디
So it is stated that those of us who are ordinary, because of our limited perceptions, we don't know who is who. So we could be very vulnerable to bad mouth and somebody who is real bodhisattva, because we don't know who he or she is, right? So we have to be very careful with that. Don't misjudge, others, and because it's stated in certain Buddhist texts. That if we happen to get angry with the bodhisattva, for however long that anger stays, any number of moments, to that extent, next time we will get stuck in the hell, right, for that long. Or that if, let's say, Geshe said, maybe in this life soon you are going to achieve the path of seeing, right? You're kind of right there, sort of like at the door or something. And then you happen to get mad with the bodhisattva, well, then it will, again, throw you back, in time, and you have to purify that karma, and you're not likely to become an arahat or arya in this life, okay? So it has that detrimental thing, so we have to be very careful with that. And then it's also stated in certain Buddhist texts that, because bodhisattvas are on different levels, right? Some are on the lower level, spiritual ground, some are on the higher, above. if a lower level bodhisattva happens to get mad with a higher level bodhisattva, let's say bodhisattva on the path of accumulation gets mad with the bodhisattva on the path of preparation, then his or her merit, for 1,000 eons will be diminished or decreased. That's terrible, isn't it? But if the bodhisattva on the path of preparation, or the higher one, that's my example, gets kind of mad with the path of accumulation, the one on the, then his or her merit for 100 eons, not years, lucky you, 100 eons will be, diminished.
The suggest less about that is how one.
No.
Give us go goes to the shark. So you say about any Tizi, I knew I should be sure during by a lump of Kukumar say, give a Kosako says,
Okay, so let me find that passage. Dika do the changes symbol in Yeme, much somebody could do So, okay, Geshe said he will stop with point number 3 in the middle. We explain a little bit, page 77, which we just said. If we get mad with the bodhisattva for however long, to that extent, we will have to stay in the bad migrations. Yeah? And so we'll pick up from there. Next time, so let me write that down.
That is joy in analysis.
So Geshe says your questions are welcome, and the traveling mic is over there, and page 77. Yeah. Let me at this. Somehow Annie is giving it to you, so take it. Start it off.
I have a question about giving up ascension being.
Okay.
Ascension being.
Yeah.
So it was said that merely not liking someone is the same as giving up on ascension being, or not caring for them, or wanting to maintain a distance, keep a distance. That's all?
Okay.
Just not liking someone, like not liking Dick Cheney, for example. That's giving up.
Does it say not merely liking someone? Does it say somewhere? Oh, that's your question. Okay.
Anywhere. It was.
Okay.
This is what it was said. That's what.
Okay. Yeah. That again, Simjin Lue Tang says your wagon. Simjin Lue Tang said the Simjin Chedaba Lue Tang to go wagon. In Lue Tang said the Simjin Chedaba Delia Chignawa Mando Macab Cheb some wagon. Lue Tang says, no, sir. No, sir.
Di told me that's what that shows you several of John Deere. That's the joy that they told me some touches in
what it means is forsaking a sentient being, right? Now you are a bodhisattva practitioner, right? You're practicing, you're bent upon, achieving enlightenment. And then in your mind, like, it's not simply disliking someone, but if you said, for whatever reason you said, this is a real troublemaker, I can't handle this anymore, so I'll give up working for this particular sentient being, right? If you give up that commitment, I'm not going to think about you, then that's giving up, not just simply disliking, or you're getting a little upset, Yeah. If you make your mindset, I don't want to work for X, Y, Z, then that's it. Yeah.
What about sometimes you want to avoid hanging out with certain people,
right,
because they engage in a lot of negativities.
Right.
I mean,
right,
maybe we don't give up on them, but
right,
really bad idea to hang out with them because they're doing X, Y, and Z.
Right. So what do we do?
How?
Right. Quran this again that and Karishu that social same game that same kind of tang manner again. Tang as Chizan mid damage or again, doing in the and the name Yamdol that quote Mando Chigra again. That Yam the Dynamic Trogaman San that Satum Chimes or what? They chain any that the Junior of your Mercus or again. That's some Chesrova. That the game does on a Togri Chimes or again. Kansan Conjabang, but that touch doing in the Basa again, that you're again.
That is your the Monday of Java something to carry over. That's so don't that shows that shows you some lodging here. That today Monday like Java, tell a ten in that could be Karsinachi, could only some of the touches and so on. Monday is a year to carry over.
But your Monday was the Madova. Then you about Togri Chingme Sabata. I guess I said that, in the case of such individuals, that even though we don't give up on them, but we don't want to socialize with them, because of their habits and whatever crazy things that they are doing, that does not constitute forsaking sentient being. But because of their this troublesome habits and all those things, if you know what, these are the bunch of people, I'm never going to work for them, right, in our heart, then it's giving up, right? We don't take whatever crazy things they're doing as a reason never to work for them, right, sort of care about them. So then that would be giving up.
A little more, let's say they're even friends.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that, and let's say they just, anytime you have a conversation with them, they say, this nun did this bad thing, that monk
right.
did this bad thing, this lama
Right.
did. So they always sort of
Right,
have,
right.
so, and maybe there's a justification,
Right.
and maybe whatever that is, but somehow there's something,
Right.
like, oh, so this is the issue of, does one counsel them, or, because that person's like totally righteous about their point of
Right,
view
right,
and justified
right.
and all that good stuff.
So your question is how to respond to them or deal with them? Or?
Yeah, because they're even a Vajra sister or brother,
Right,
for
right.
example. It's a little more sticky than that.
Right,
They're not
right,
just
right,
the people
right,
over there.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So
what
what to do with that?
Okay, that's right. Mora condition the things that that penang around so toji pinto or sim in there again. Lama chiki kido sim in there. That's zamdam the mishi ka sen chiki yor again. Karen nyam do chongdi che this kaji ka do in during as a mish la mi doge. Chik chen actually the dim ni jam dinne mari ke di ye mari ke ji la ro again. Situ kala dinne che ta dile ya samlo tang da ro khali chogore so kan sana ta di china mi maro wa. Lama chiki kido cha de toji pinto cha de ro again. In that yama muslang de ro de khali chog so again.
Je da 다들 최대 해보는 이거 딱딱들 날래 줘도 다 됐어도 주주서 세대도 돼. 제가 내 동보야 때지 똑바로 맞게 봐도 소리가 엠베르도 좀 못했어. 왜냐면도 시험 강가로트 딱딱 소통 말이지.
노사.
근데 엠베르도 로 청소나 이 마냥도 용네 이 수바코트 가르치는 지금 쳐오러 와. 동보도 거 엠베르도는 좀 그러시면 돼. 딱 가지 가다 이제 딱 강 삽삽 지하실 봐. 뭐 타지도 다지 초초 뭐 해야 돼. 그 좀도 다무다 용거 봐. 다 당보 퇴나 강지 유령 보면 강심 삼로건 받내도 봐서는 이거 왔다.
So Geshe says, of course, we are all not able to do exactly it is, explained in the text or required of us to do. What is stated in the text is really, we study these things, we are, right, less interested in Bodhisattva practice, right, so we train our mind. And so in sense that, we should sort of isolate ourselves in solitude, practice our mind, right? Once we have developed inner dedication, and then we can mingle with the crowds. It's okay. We are kind of ready, prepared, But that's what we are not able to do exactly, right? So we are here with each other. So in our situation, I think the best is as much as we can not to really sort of participate in that kind of a craziness or whatever, or not to think too unkindly about them, or not to get influenced. But that's all we can do. Because the here assumption is you go practice, build up your practice, you're strong, then come back, right? Face the real world, so to speak. You have the armor of patience, you have the understanding, all of that, right? Which we don't have. So that's the situation we are in.
저 공주 사무동도 컨트라사스나 단 대자께서는 그걸 카도 코드 깨서야 뭐신도는 싫어요 버리고 나 간지 너지 피지 쉬어 점지 컨트라사디에다 대자이다 하고 뭐 수사하고 뭐와 다 하고 다 대자에서 바꿔야 돼 컨트라지 가야지 레도 그러와 어디 가건다 양그래.
So as a practitioners, we don't how should I say kind of put on a pretense like, we are practitioner, we don't get mad, we don't get attached, we don't get jealous. Not that, right? We have all of that, right? But as a practitioner, if you can recognize any of these things coming up, right? Usually people who have no learning of the Dharma, maybe they even don't realize, right, the anger or this negative emotions. So at least we recognize them, and if we can sort of prevent it from becoming bigger, or even if reducing the time period of that experience, like we're not going to get mad for 2 hours, like maybe we'll get mad for half an hour, I don't know, right? That is a practice in itself, isn't it? So, the practice means that not like, we will not get attached to a mat or anything. I mean, that comes much later, right? Yeah, back to... we have planted two of them in different directions so that they can sort of question.
I have a question about taking the bodhisattva vows from a visualized master.
Sure.
Because the way it was stated was that the bodhisattva vow could be taken only the first time, only this after one has taken from a master the bodhisattva vows, then it could be retaken on one's own. And it was contrasted with the tantric vows and the refuge vows. But to my knowledge, one can take tantric vows by oneself as well, so there is no difference there.
Okay,
so is it the case that bodhisattva vows could be taken from the very beginning on one's own, and that's how they're different from taking tantric vows?
Quran condition de dire ta tagi kem changdom le chorwa an radu chuna ane lobeng tune le mena social lan chor la bwa ge se di abena namju di sungu do asa tangba chan changdom le ma yin lobeng tune leng go res wa ten dang bodi mis ka je de sig do was ge wa an dene ni ba dene ma social le ne di res wa ge dire yana changdom di ta tagi kem so man se soda da nga da ma la ba tangbo ni no social len chwa che wa ge se ane ta da nga ro chi ne be na da chi shu sa ben social len chwa ma ro so do ma che wa ge
팀문도 다 ngawdum 내 가서 소다에 dom바도 생이벌 렘발라 로모면을 내쇼문도와 저는 가서 남지 카동도 되달래 니디 뭐바시는 양 ngawdum 초가서 농구여 봐 진짜 때지야 이니 펜도도 연구를 뭐도 ngawdum 사바 토로 이니 가서 공부자도 ngawdum 똥도 뭐 요나 사바 토야 되네 요 말이지 이제 뭐 인고 제조다 로모도 되는데 다주도 되는 거로 티모도 소다는 연결해야 요 말쓰고라 또 이제 저주sem도 당복하는 쓰고다 뒤에서 지금 말에
계속 쉬고가 말 당번에
당번에 소지는 랭을
아 수전 쉬만인 되고로
어제 쉬만이나
yeah I think clarification so maybe my
소도 듣고 그러와 저주sem에 내놓 지금 놓아서 애들 참인제 장바시 다 소다를 때도 그러와 그래서 랭쇼 말어 어디 좀 지고
yeah, so oftentimes we heard, remember that, first time you should take it from teacher and then second time you can do it. But Geshe said, no, it doesn't have to be. From the first time, you can take it on your own. You don't need a teacher for Bodhisattva vows. But the assumption here is that you have read Bodhisattva literature, you have developed some interest and genuine, feeling, and then you take it, right? Then you can take it on. But in case of Tantric and Vinaya vows, right, we must have gurus, especially the Vinaya. Once you have taken the guru is in the sense, the congregation from others, including the preceptor. In the case of Vinayas, once you break the root vows, then in this life you're done. You cannot retake them or write that. But in case of tantric vows, in our sadhana, right, we try to do that. That's not really taking newly. It's just like trying to enhance our vows. But if we have broken any transgressed vows, so the two options is either to receive the full initiation again from a master, or if we have done the retreat, we do the self-initiation. So that's the only way we can regenerate the tantric vows. But in the Vinaya, we cannot regenerate it in any way at all, right? Yeah.
And it's a very paradoxical situation. One can take it on the bodhisattva vow on their own, and yet they cannot take it from a bodhisattva. For bodhisattva who doesn't have the engaging
yes.
So that
isn't that paradoxical?
Or we can take it. One can take it from somebody who is not a bodhisattva, but not from a bodhisattva who is only aspiring bodhicitta.
Okay. Yeah. That's one of these sugar and the 장dom디 레게 렌서 저러와게 렌서 디 아니 장돔 균된 강사 진행 걸으려고 하게 마도치기 몇점 잠게 되게 말했어 봐. 근데 이마다 다다 장돔 장돔으로 와게 디 아니 소소소 렌 쇼고 여봐이나로 와게 아니 미 몇점 유근 딜레 다지 자는 렘 하셔디 아니 고 결다 책 말해서 와게 몇점 잠 여봐디 고다 베나 전주선 몇점 잠 유근 서로 와게 여기는 자는 춤 하셔도 가리나 소소소 렌 쇼고 연나로 와게 저도 아니 베나 단다 로변 디스고 그냥 장돔 균된 거 로변 디 강사 패바로 와게 디자는 슈쇼고레스 야 전주선 뭐 오면서네 그 장돔에는 렌 쇼고 말sla로 와게 아디 결다 책 말해서
알레티드 책 말해 가르스나 되고 그 넘바 가르 뭐나 소소도 되 넘는데 그거로 상강하다 소다 가르지고로 이동도 뭐 소다 기동도 뭐 좀뭐 들어야 얘네 남자 로기롱아서 소다지 희주만 보고로 와 단다디 코너 넘바 요머 봐 코너 넘면 멜 넘바 있는 뭐 좀 뭐라 와
Right.
어디 다 이거
Tamene kwana diso
다디 때 이거들 시세야 돼. 때 두는 거 때는 거 이제 시 처리와 그사지 꽝 두셔나 내가 요라.
ala on
어디 내가 시그라.
close.
어디서?
Now, in the case of taking the Bodhisattva vows on your own, right, you're really not taking from any like a particular person, but you're from the visualized whole assembly of Buddhas, right, Bodhisattvas. And there are real Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, right? So that's what, you're receiving the vows, making promise in front of them. Okay. Yeah. So that's the difference. Yeah. Any other thoughts, reflection? Yeah.
The vow is, what is the vow? Is it form?
Okay, yeah. Tanda domba sejorwa ge. Yeah. Tanda changdom ki sejorwa. Domba se di sukjen chizre kara res korge. Ko domba sejorwa. Ko ta sukjen ngobo resre kara res go tadwa ge.
단 샤유세메 돈바데 다 지도는 텐ጆ도 소를 돈바 소는 되고 어때 뽕숨 시대장 룽아 다 샤유세메 돈 셈기 돈베 소지레 룽아 돈바 콘드 사와시나 소요 초그래 소요 초그
The tangible looks and yeah, according to Prasangika Madhyamika perspective, the vows, including the engaging with vows, are form. 저는 샘기 그 수를 쓰디 갈라 아니 샘 레스고 말로
수를 쓰고 다 가지 간주 콘도다 지금 코라 자와지 요 말베 디레샤셔거라 레스야 디레샤거라
그렇죠. 아니면 숭선데 코라 수차를 차요 말이야.
숭선데도 수차가 말이야. 그다 희바다.
다지 돈 받지고 말로.
다 뒤지고 숭숭 지고 라위사 말이야. 다 생겨 갔다디 런지바다 저게 숭숭 코나 샤거라. 지라마게 소가지 다 생겨다 지라마 소향바 지월 때 효도적 말봐. 샘자바다 런지부터 돈벌 희바샤거라.
다지 숭선데 샤거라.
다 소샤거라.
다 수샤도 간베 숭샘데를 로가기 돈바디 가르쳐.
로가디요 다 디차 샤샤 샤고. 다베는 컨트롤 도메 송주 도메 있는 거 남유지 차와시야죠라.
알레노.
저다 지레기 지금 속이 샤고 봐야.
다 셈나기 남도게 디 수도 샤고 되게. 베나 미스테는 게세.
그놈도 거와. 다베 식서도 셰선 남선시 담야도 디디 좀 시사먹고 조시는 차와죠 말이야. 디데스
샤고. 룽아 차와르지만 셈이 차와죠.
룽아 차와. 다 속이 샤시 룽아 샤고.
알레 셈 샤고
참죠 말이야.
알레노.
다 조조데 셈로와. 디신의 샤와 domba 숭숭 수유세요 디데 샤웨산 샤고라.
Yeah, so the perspective where we say, I think the Prasangika, for example, first stay with Prasangika. Prasangika perspective, vows are form. So usually we think in terms of the activities of body and speech involved with, right? And the mind, as we said, not to engage in negativity, that's not considered as a form. But when you think about that, killing someone, then you're already like, okay, I want to hit this one, right? That is the form, right? That's the form, right? That they call it the vow, right? And then you're like, oh, I can't hit, like, I have a practice, I can't hit him, right? That's the vow. Okay. Yes. Whereas in the in the Chitta Madrin and other schools, like they say, it is not a vow. A vow is not a form, and that's a state of mind, right? You think about not indulge in something, right? So there's different perspectives.
So the bodhicitta is a state of mind, but the vow is not.
다디 지도가 장dom라 샤샤웨나 장dom기 데고 장주샘제로와 장주샘디 dom바 멤버제로와게 장dom세디 다 코드 데위 나 류가 줘버 샤고
데데 다 데케 고 송자도 강가수 dombe 지금 용말에 다 뒤에는 소가 요데고 셈중아 용거로 왔다 다음에 용거로
Yeah, that's right. The bodhicitta itself is a state of mind, but the engaging bodhisattva vows, that involves mental factors and the form activities like that. Yeah.
Is this the reason why it says that once somebody takes a bodhisattva vow and have that form on their mind, not on the mind, but associate with the mind,
Right.
that all the time they accumulate positive energy, regardless of whether they remember their intention, the bodhisattva intention or not.
Right.
Because the form is present always.
Okay.
Associated with mind.
Yeah.
Not mind, but associated with mind.
Okay.
Whereas if somebody who is not taking
Right.
Doesn't have that form.
Right.
They may be acting exactly like
That's
somebody
right.
who has taken,
Okay.
and yet they don't accumulate.
Sure. Kora kani shwe disiko ta chi di imbe ina danda da de gen domba su shandar wa gen. ane nganzo disiko nganzo changdom lang ba ina ane kaso chobal ngo shuna mo shune ane besona mudun sagur slabro wa gen. Seze diko domba di sugjen sonza ko yoyo bar wa. Di chanle lago wa sa ta kena domba mo shu gen chiwe bena kata lunga gnam juda checho wa. Dombe su de meza kwala ya di sonam sae de me di kebar wes ko da.
디 단다 디 솔로 사셔야 되데 지동 케랑 베샬 샤문드베 케랑소나 아니 티고 소동 사도 쓰기도와 디 단다 도마코는 유효가 저주서 도마코 유효가 되래
나서.
다데 솔루션 뭐 사셔야 되다 그 속소 디샤네데 이제 미세인지 말이
이는 담자 됐어. sem부
담자들 세무 담자들 때는 이니 솔루션 뭐 사야 돼 데려와 담자 유나 이니 그 카드이나 손은 패배해 되그랬어. 담자스메 담보 수서 들어가 당시에는 이는 그 카드고 다도 배우는 중거라 디 배우 마시브 중고 말서 거라.
담자도 술 샤투고 말와.
담자도 수 샤도 뭐 담자도 세미나.
Semso. In that case, actually, it's not so much reference to the forms, but it's to the commitment in your mind, right? Bodhisattva commitment. Because of that, right? Whether you are engaging in a bodhisattva activities or not, the merit, ensures. Yeah. 딜라도 가라 면섬 레다가 와서 다서남 김이치 사된 면섬데
무슨 데다 무슨 지도 요 솔은 피지디 무슨 쇼가라는 데 페아이기 뭐 제가 소심께는 그 심기도 있게 뭐디 딱바리 카드에 패돼야 돼 이지 말아 봐.
알아 면섬 다 쇼게 손에 지 담자 샤나 양지
담자는 야 페아 있어.
Yeah. So I think in the case of aspiring bodhicitta, maybe the difference is if you participate in the aspiring bodhicitta rite and then you make a commitment to get the aspiring bodhicitta, then it works the same way. But if you don't take the rite, but you say, okay, you generate aspiring bodhicitta. The moment you generate it, there is a merit, but then you're not doing it, it's not there. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't understand why a vow is any different than any other karma.
Karma.
In your action of anger, obviously there's body and speech, there's also mind.
Right.
So why is it any different?
Okay. Korangi di tsigorda tandang ngajo domba sejo wa ge su sai di dang ngajo le sejo wa kun yin ni kebas ke me bru chagdu ben le ro nang lunga ge le che yo wa ge sidi tata domba su sai da le sha dan ni keba kar yo re so
domba de le 소리 차고 le 소리 차고 거 레스도 여도 샤웨샤도 샤거도 와 근데 지 샤당 지 버다 레스도 야 domba 세야도 야 케랑 시야지 때 가가요
인주 domba le shan 지고나
domba 쿠페지 그 숭절로 될 샤는 되게
그렇죠.
넘어 거 레 샤죠
레게 콩산 되거나
레 콩 샤는 되게
no yeah. Geshe thinks that maybe we can classify the vows in the category of karmas. Not all karmas are, because the vows are related to making some kind of commitment or promise. Okay, but in terms of the manifestations, as we said, the external manifestations, so those are the karmas. Actions.
So you're saying when you go through a vow ceremony, you're doing body, speech, and mind action. And those are stored as different aspects of karma.
Right. 다 ngajo bena domba chidu kan lagin da bena lunga khanga ngone le sa gor wa gen cha se ba da jamre che ba da ngang de ro de za le de ge de sa wa ton le de ge de pa da ka so le de ge de pa ga sem sha gor wa so ya ko mi yu da le ge de mi gor wa. That's right. Yeah, when we participate in the rite, we involve our body, speech, and mind. Right, we're creating activities of karma, and this leave the imprints on our mind. And when this get activated, they bring their fruitions.
So what does it mean to say a vow is form?
So 안에 단다디 domba 수를 쓰디오 갈다 돈다 콘다 야고 스쿠고 있어 말하게 domba 수세 된 간데질 something 거였어.
수세다 수세다 딩게 융화가 차월 다번에 주마게는 장주마게는 카게 그게 장주를 dombe 차와 용으로 가.
딜레 다디 레다 찍고 차고
레 찍고 차고 다 얘는 소자들 단지 찍바래 룽아가 샤 자우는 디 동야 샤를 샤그라
라레 다 domba 랍데 갈고 켈렌디 체산 domba 차르마 켈레 차데로
켈렌디 domba디 켈렌 찍고 샤고 다 켈렌 조데도 와 이 domba 세트다디 샤고 다단다 데스고로 와 랑주바다 셈도도 켈렌도 샤고래
노서
태교하게 돼 소유 domba 수jen디 기니 시어서 라도와 domba 수진스도 룽아가 되셔야래 뭐 이게 될 샤야 말가지
한 텐주부 제베나 캠페나 domba 라마도 말라부 소저 마저고 지요로 와게 and su in ba chik ba sha chik mar ba ge
La.
bana so kasa soja ba le khelen che na ba ge ta di ki tin ju be chen kol dong ba chik yo ba ge ta khelen che me na soja ba sha na kwa ta di ni che ba sha ge dong ba yu me
Ale so maje bishe. So
maje be na di middle ya ane kasa da dombe sor yo mar ko so maje be le ko chigyo mar ba ge
this gore. Tera domba sigmare, tera tisegora, parme gyawasigo.
ale no so
Kelana domba sigidwa.
ale
So kelana parme gyawasigo. Gyawade dachiba nibashin de chiba do.
no so I think it's maybe in my English translation it's not coming out clearly because I was trying to understand how the things that according to Prasangika perspective the vows of the Domba are formed and these are associated with mostly the external expressions that we restrain physically and verbally. But those vows are based upon like they're related to the commitment and a promise. So in a sense, those activities are karma as well. The difference is here you have taken those kind of commitments right through rites. But otherwise, the actions are the karmas, like your physical actions, like not to kill someone, not to say something bad to someone, right? That's your speech vow, right? If we have taken the vow. So I was asking him the difference between somebody who has taken the vow not to kill someone, right? And somebody who's not anyway not killing someone, but not taking the vow. So what's the difference? In terms of external activity, it's the same, isn't it? I'm restraining myself from killing, okay, don't kill my, that's bad. Killing this one. So I have taken the vow. So if I like think of okay, oh no, I can't. I took the vow, right? So that's the vow. That physical activity of not restraining myself from. That's something visible, isn't it? So that's called vow according to Prasangika. But that's related to my promise, commitment not to kill, right? So I think the karmas and vows are part of karmas. In other words, but not all karmas are vows. But karmas are part of vows are part of karmas. Tata de su se de ke men namju sukjen she go wa gen anju juma shi da den de su de chi ba sha go so su sha da ji ba su su lo
Oh so da de che jungjur che da juma sha mar ba jungjur su che
yeah jungjur or juma lo jurwa yeah these are not considered exactly like the forms in the four elements but these are we call the jungjur the elemental products isn't it there's other one like jungjur the products that's what is considered yeah
Is the vow form in the way the karma of a butcher or exterminator is also formed, but not every karma. You know, the karma of somebody who has this kind of a life.
Say it again, yeah.
The karma of somebody who has a lifestyle of, let's say, a butcher or exterminator,
right.
that is a form, just like a vow is a form, right? But not every karma
is
a form.
Right.
Is a form.
Okay.
So the form, the karma of a butcher is a form, but not every karma is a form.
Okay. Korang this go le ina ke sukjen be khaba yo marwa sro ge
yi le zo sukjen ri ge
marwa ine ta tanda pena korang this or ngazo di yo ba ge tanda kharsa ora ta shenba yo ro ge butcher shenba ro ji na ko ta khwe le de sukjen le cha de ro ge yeah that's right yeah. So every karma is not necessarily form, but karmas like the butcher you just mentioned is a form. Yeah. Did we have a question over there or something behind? No. Okay. If not, we will stop there. Anybody question? Yeah. Just a reminder for those who have taken the Vajrayogin initiation and done the retreat. Tomorrow we have Vajrayogini self-initiation at 2, I believe, right? And then our regular talk offering is at 7:30. Okay. Kange lo de dimye dinde ninda namda rabse jinye dungun jishe seche nije togar lekbam ze kanda sebe zara ma wendon dongme yese rozo la boje da yanla zhoje yangden son duda shejo nyemo nyelo leje jajo jeje mare meze dongme nyugo jinye shenze raje na dene raje saju 愿当论说Geshe出月故
知
知照知道诸你大乐门生将被养老的我马拉巴扎那滴滴滴滴滴滴滴滴滴滴滴滴滴Amara baza na de zende cheje chenra vese je dalu timo memba rapse ne kada lode bobe na wa zendo su lode jazu udon pega den kesan bombe chudo memba jen demba zen la wando yish tanye shogun jola so one de page 21 Obeisance to my Guru and Protector Manjushri, who holds at his heart a scriptural text, symbolic of his seeing all things as they are, whose intelligence shines forth as the sun, unclouded by delusions or traces of ignorance, who teaches in 60 ways with the loving compassion of Father for his only Son, all creatures caught in the prison of samsara, confused in the darkness of their ignorance, overwhelmed by their suffering. You whose dragon thunder-like proclamation of Dharma, stupor about delusions and free us from the iron chains of our karma, who wields the sword of wisdom, hewing down suffering wherever sprouts appear, clearing away the darkness of ignorance. You who have been pure from the beginning, who have completed the stages, achieving the highest perfection of a bodhisattva, whose princely body is adorned with 112 marks of a Buddha, I bow down to you, Manjushri. O Marabaza Nadi, O compassionate one, with the brilliance of your wisdom, illuminate the darkness enclosing my mind, enlighten my intelligence and wisdom, so that I may gain insight into Buddha's words and the texts that explain them. Page 31. Like the sweet perfume of white lotus, born in the ocean of knowledge, nourishing honeybees, the fortunate beings, you pervade all directions. You are proficient and powerful in upholding the precious doctrine. To you, all of Sang Tenzin Wangda, respectfully I pray.
Nhất tâm kính lễ Đức Văn Thù Sư Lợi, bậc đại trí ngài điều phục hai chướng ngại, tựa nhật quang lan tỏa khắp mười phương, bậc thực chứng chân nghĩa màu rốt ráo, từ tim ngài Bát Nhã Kinh thủ hộ nhiệm màu, cõi luân hồi chúng sanh thọ nghiệp báo, bị ngăn che bởi phiền não vô minh, sở hữu 60 pháp âm thủ thắng, cùng đại bi ngài hóa độ chúng sanh, tựa từ mẫu chăm lo cho quý tử. Tiếng rồng vang ngài thức tỉnh hữu tình, thoát khỏi vòng luân hồi nghiệp chướng, gươm trí tuệ ngài chặt đứt vô minh, tận diệt muôn vàn khổ đau cùng ách nạn, trưởng tử Như Lai tối thắng toàn giác, ngài an trụ nơi thập địa pháp vân, báu thân ngài trang nghiêm thanh tịnh, 112 tướng hạo Như Lai, đê đầu đảnh lễ Đức Văn Thù Sư Lợi, cúi xin ngài tận diệt ám chướng vô minh. Om Arapasanadi, con khẩn cầu dưới gót sen bậc đại trí, ban pháp lực diệt phiền não vô minh, được trí sáng con thâm nhập nghĩa màu, pháp vi diệu cùng muôn vàn luận giải. Như diệu hương ngọt ngào từ sen trắng, đản xanh nơi trí thủ thắng đại dương, hàng thiện căn như ông mật thọ nương, hồng danh ngài khắp mười phương quảng bá, đấng thiện xảo uy dũng bảo tồn pháp bảo vô giá. Nam mô Lốp Sang Tenzin Quang Đắc, xin cung kính trì niệm.
ma ye ba na ye ju je ye ba nyam ba me ba yang go ne go pe wa ju dong ni da wa ren bo che ma ye ba na ye ju je ye wa nyam ba me go ne go do be wa ju sa ji be je ju je me do zha ri ra lin je nin de yin mo sang jie xin du mi de wu wa ye zhu ge na xin la jue wa yu kang ri ra we guo we xin gang de pen dang de wa ma lu zhong we xian de zi wang tin jin yang zong yi xia be zi de ba do dian yu ji yi